Hi everyone, this is Rosie, and today I'm going to be doing an unboxing and setup of the Techsew 4800 Pro. So let's get started. This video is not intended to be a tutorial on how to assemble your machine. It is simply me unboxing my own machine and walking through the steps of the setup. You should always refer to the manuals sent by Techsew to assemble your machine and watch their assembly videos on YouTube. The machine arrived by freight on a pallet, and my son helped me carry everything into the house. I also had another very strong individual come to put the machine up on the table for me. Other than that, I did the rest of the setup myself. Here's everything that we unloaded off of the pallet. On the right side is the larger box, which contains the sewing machine, and there are two smaller boxes on top. On the left side, you'll see the table. The table is actually too high for me, so I will lower that down, and I did order casters which need to be installed. I'll start by unboxing the two smaller boxes. Here's the first one, and I'm just going to push it aside. The first thing in the box is the light that comes with the machine. And next, this is a bottle of oil. And here's some thread. It looks like it's a number 69 bonded white nylon thread. It looks like these are the feet of the machine. And it looks like this is an oiling bottle. And this looks like the drawer for the table. So there's a belt in here. There's a bunch of bobbins. There's a little screw here. I'm not sure what that's for yet. Some needles. They're size 18, 20, and 23. Small screwdriver. A wrench. And a hex wrench. Couple more bobbins here. And in here it looks like there's a set of 3 screwdrivers, like a small, a medium, and a large. So here are the 3 screwdrivers. And this looks like the left toe foot that the machine comes with. And this looks like the little stand that you put behind the machine so that when you tilt it back, this becomes a stopper. And then we have a few more hex wrenches here. And this looks like another set of needles, size 18. And this is the guide, the sewing guide. should say, I guess, seam guide. There's some extra parts in another hex wrench in there. Actually, there are 2 more hex wrenches in there. And this is a package of bolts. Then we also have the casters that I ordered right here. And this in here looks like the thread mast. And lastly, we have this envelope here. And that contains the manuals that the machine comes with. I have the second box here, and inside is the belt guard. And also the knee lifter. Inside the box that has the machine head, there's a box right on top, and this box has the flatbed table in it. And it's right here, and it's actually all wrapped up in this envelope, which we will leave for now. I'm also going to leave the machine in the box for now because I have someone coming that's going to be able to help me lift it onto the table itself. To put on the casters, you need to take one of your end caps. The hole in the bottom of the end cap goes on the bottom of the foot. So you just push it on there. Then you're going to take your caster. And there's 2 bolts. There's one here on the top, and then there's one here on this ring. The one on the ring, the larger bolt, is the one that you're going to turn to screw this into place. So I'm just going to line it up with the hole. And then I'll start turning that bolt. I just want to turn it enough until it starts to connect in there. And that's good. And then I'm going to take a wrench. I'm using an 11/16 inch wrench. And then I will just screw the rest of it into place. You just keep turning it around until it's completely secured. And then you can go ahead and put on the other casters in the same way. These 2 rails that you see right here are for the drawer placement. This is the front of the table right here. And you're just going to slip the drawer in between those rails. These are locking casters. Each caster has a little lever on it, which is right here. When the lever is in the up position, the table will move. To lock the caster to prevent the table from moving, you just press down, and now that caster is locked into place and the machine will not move. If you look on the side of the table, you're going to see 2 sets of holes. There's a set of holes here and a set of holes here, and in the bottom set of holes I have these bolts. These bolts are used to adjust the height of the table. Now when I received the table, the bolts were actually in this top set of holes right here. But when I tried to lower the table with the bolts in the top set of holes, I couldn't get the table low enough for me. So I had to drop the bolts down to the second hole. And on the other side of the bolts is a bracket. So of course the bolts were up here when I first got the machine. It meant that there was a bracket right on the other side of those bolts. So I had to move the bracket down to this set of holes so that I could screw the bolts in. With the bolts set in the lower set of holes, I was able to drop the table height enough for me. Right now the table height is set at 29 inches, and as far as I can see, that is as low as the table can go. Right in here is the bracket that I was just talking about. Because of the angle of the camera, you can only see one of the bolts, but there is another bolt on the other side of the bracket. When the machine was shipped, the oil pump was tucked up inside the machine. I just carefully pulled it out and put it into the center of the well. And now I'm going to install the belt as per the instructions on the Techsew video, and I'm not going to show that on camera. Now I'm going to connect these 2 wires. They show it very well on the video. So I'm just removing that screw that's in the table. I'll carefully push the wires down in here. And then this little bracket that has the hole in it is going to get screwed into that hole. This is a little tricky to line up, but just be patient with it. This rod that's coming out of the machine is to install your knee lifter. And you'll notice there's a flat area right here on that rod. When you put on your knee lifter, you want this bolt to be screwed against that flat surface. So go ahead and install your knee lifter. You want the end of this square piece right here to be flush with the end of the rod. And then go ahead and secure it down. And then I'll go ahead and tighten it with a wrench. I'm ready to start assembling the thread mast. So this is the pole that goes into the table. I'm going to put on a washer, and then I'll put on the rubber washer, and then I'm going to put it down into the hole of the table. I'll put a washer underneath, and then the nut. And I'll just screw it in place and secure it with a wrench. Next, take the arm that looks like this. It has some holes right there in the top. You just slip it onto the end of the pole and tighten it in place. Next, take one of these rods. You have two of them. It has a bolt and a locking washer on it. You want to remove those and slip it into the end hole here. And then you're going to place the locking washer on there with the bolt. Then take the second rod and do the same thing. Remove the bolt and the locking washer. And I'm going to put it in the hole that's closest to the pole here and secure it in place with the washer and the bolt. Then place a thread holder on the end of each one of the rods. Just push it all the way down. It's a little hard to push it. There you go. And then you'll put on a piece of the foam and one of these things. I have no idea what they're called. Again, it's a little hard to get it on, but if you squeeze it, it goes down easier. And then you'll put the other thread holder onto the other rod in the same way. Then you'll take this connector piece and slip it onto the end of the rod and tighten up the screw on the bottom just a bit. And then you can go ahead and take the upper rod and slip that into the other end of the connector. And then you'll tighten everything up. Then you'll take this last arm and just place it onto the end of the pole. Tighten everything up. And then you also have this end cap here for the top of the pole. And that's it for the thread mast. To install the seam guide, we need to remove these two screws. And then you'll take the seam guide, position it just like this, and put the bolts back in place. Once you have both of those screws back in place, you can tighten them up with a hex wrench, but you can see that there's a little bit of room here for making adjustments if you need to. Now I can put on the belt guard, and I'll start with this one right here. Just position it in place. And then I'll take one of the longer bolts and get that in there and screw it in place. Then I'm going to take the other half of the guard and I'm going to place it around the belt. You have to be careful of the wires right here. And then you're going to slide the two parts together. They sort of fit together like a puzzle. So just be careful and patient with it. Then up here, you need to bring the two sections together on the top. Just pull it together till it's nice and tight. Then you'll take one of the smaller bolts, which I have right here, and that's going to get screwed into this hole on the top. So get it lined up with the hole and just screw it in place. Then there's a screw right on top that joins the two halves together. You can go ahead and tighten that screw up as well. And one more bolt needs to go into this hole right here. Now I'm going to install the lower section of the guide, and there's this slot right here. This slot needs to go around the belt. So I'm going to turn it around and position it so that it's going around the belt. And then you'll just slide it into place. Line it all up. Once you have the guard in position, the longer screws are going to go into these two holes here, and the shorter screws are going to go into these two holes here. And it's going to help when you put in the shorter screws if your screwdriver is magnetized. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that off camera. My setup is now complete, and in the next video we'll start to get familiar with the Techsew 4800 Pro. Thank you for watching.